Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. We are going to be speaking about the Land Settlement Agency, or LSA. As the Chief Executive Officer, Mr. Hazar Hosein, he joins us for a general overview, as well as looking specifically at the Housing and Village Improvement Program. Mr. Hosein, thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing?
Good day, Dike, and it's a pleasure to be here with you. And I'm fine today.
Very glad to hear. And I want to start off by getting an overview, thank you, of the LSA in terms of maybe line ministry operating under what's the core responsibility, and what are some of those administrative responsibilities as well?
Okay, so the Land Settlement Agency, and let me go to when it was established. It was established in 1998. It came into being from an Act of Parliament, Act number 25 of 1998. It's the State Land Regularization of Tenure Act. The LSA operates under the Ministry of Housing and Urban Development. Our line minister at this time is the Honorable Camille Robinson-Regis, and we have a second minister, Minister Adrian Leons, who we report to. The LSA has many responsibilities, as you may know. We were primarily set up to deal with squatter regularization. So we are best known for squatter regularization. But apart from that, we have many other duties and responsibilities that has been passed on to us, such as the tenancy program, the government-aided self-help housing program, the development of lands for former Petrotrin workers or ex-Petrotrin workers. We have the development of lands for the Youth Agricultural Homestead Program. And we also have the very important Housing and Village Improvement Program. And that's a very exciting program that we will talk about.
And so, and I'm very glad that you were able to raise some of these things, because I didn't realize that HVIP was something that LSA was had a lot of responsibility for as well.
Well, yeah, and that our responsibility is the development of the homesteads. So there are 2-acre homesteads, and the LSA has a responsibility for developing the homesteads. Presently, we are developing almost 400 acres in the Chatham area. We're also responsible for developing an area in Tucker Valley, where we are responsible for setting up shade houses in that area on behalf of the Ministry of Youth Development and National Service.
Definitely nice to know, but the way that your eyes kind of lit up when you were talking about the Housing and Village Improvement Program, let's go to that a little bit. So in terms of, yes, we hear the name, but what does that name entail?
The Housing and Village Improvement Program. We're so proud of this particular program. It started, it's a pretty young program, started in the year, in fact, it's financial year 2018, was approved by Cabinet in November of 2017. And since then, we have been implementing this program. The program aims at improving, housing and living conditions of people who live in very deplorable conditions. It's the most needy persons in our society. The HVIP in pertinence of the development strategy, Vision 2020, of putting people first and nurturing our greatest assets as a key development team. It's built on an aided self-help approach. You know the old HVIP concept that we talk about? It's built on that, where the state puts in something, but the individual has a responsibility for putting their sweat and labor into this program.
And what are some of the things that need to go into it? And I say, because when you say aided self-help, it's always nice to say, okay, well, because it's one thing to say, okay, well, the resources are coming from a place, in this case, government, but at the others, but that sweat, that tears, that sweat equity, as some people would say, what is needed on the other side to go into the development of an initiative like this?
I think before I even go into that particular aspect, let me just say also that tell you that there are 2 aspects to the program. One is the construction of starter homes, and the second is also village improvements, where we also get into these villages that need infrastructure improvement, and we go in and we do these things as well. On the side of improvement in housing, which is very important, and I mentioned aided self-help. the state puts in a substantial sum for the construction of a starter house, but that individual has to complete that structure. In fact, there are 3 tiers that of the program as we speak for house construction. We construct on lands that are flat, and the subsidy there is 170,000. Then there's slightly undulating, 175,000 subsidy, and then the other tier is 180,000 in fact.
And you say that, and I'm glad you raised that point as well. And even going to the fact that the angle that the land is on would impact what kind of figures we're looking at. But the fact that village and building things that would be needful in an area, especially if you're going into an area and you're dealing with more than one house, I think is important. I remember there was a house that was building in an area, Grand Couver. So some friends of mine said, okay, well, we carrying and we're going and cook because it was a full moon and boy days now. But at the same time,
back in those days.
You understand? But where that gentleman was building, Mr. Hosein, he paid people by the bag to carry bricks to the area. So there was no road, there was no access in terms of water. So I'm very glad that you talk about improving conditions in an area, because some of the things I think of, light, drainage, would be necessary, as opposed to just saying, okay, well, we just drop in a house in an area and then everything else is around, and you're saying that should have been dealt with as well. So how do you decide, okay, well, these are the areas that we're going to be dealing with, and these are the amenities that are needed in terms of draining and going about it in an intentional manner?
I think before I get into that, I hope I didn't confuse your listeners with respect to the different classes that we spoke about. And I just want to clarify that a little bit. The 3 tiers, as I said before, that we intervene. 165,000 subsidy, 170,000, 175. The homeowner is required to put in $10,000 in either money or sweat equity, assisting in the construction of those homes. So that's what we do in respect of the homes. But you mentioned about the different areas and that we're developing, and you give a particular example and the interventions that we have in these areas. How do we determine where to start? And of course, we have a lot of social data here at the LSA that we have collected over the many years that the LSA has been operating. And it's that social data that we use to determine which are the areas that we'll intervene in, whether it be in Toko, whether it be in Matloto, or whether it be in Point Fortin. And so our officers go out there and make a determination based on the infrastructure and the quality of the infrastructure. And then we classify the homes that are in these villages. And we make a determination. These are the ones that require the intervention of the LSA and our ministry.
Thank you so much. So if we had to narrow down and say the specific target audience for the HVIP program, so you spoke about some of the areas and stuff, but what was the specific niche or cohort that you're aiming for?
Well, let me first say, you must be a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, or citizen of Trinidad. In fact, at this time, we are developing the program in Trinidad. Age 21 and above. Income level is very important, and this really determines the target group. Income must be no more, and that's household income of $7,000 and less per month. So that's your target group that we are looking at this time. You must be the legal occupant of the land, or you must have security of tenure, whether it be by means of a certificate of comfort, or whether you qualify for a tenancy from our tenancy program. So that's the target group that we look at.
All right, and with that, and we take a short break, you wouldn't realize that this amount of time has gone in the conversation as yet, but we're speaking with Chief Executive Officer of the Land Settlement Agency, Mr. Hazar Hosein. Stay with us, we return with more. welcome back. We are speaking about the Land Settlement Agency with CEO Mr. Hazar Hosein. Specifically, we are looking at the Housing and Village Improvement Program, HVIP. So we know it's $7,000 or less. That is what the
Household income.
household is making. That's the household income. We
That's
also
it.
know that there is this range of 165 to 180,000, 3 tiers. But
okay, let's make sure we get that right. So it's
read and spell for me. Read and spell for me.
The subsidy is 165,000 on flat land, 170,000 on slightly undulating, and on hilly terrain, if we put it that way, $175,000. The homeowner is required to put in $10,000 either in cash or in sweat equity or in materials to complete their home. And that gives us the aided self-help concept.
Thank you so much. But in terms of, and is it a matter of means testing? And this is for putting that $10,000 in that sweat equity. Is it a matter of finding individuals in the area? Does it need to be the intended occupants of the home themselves? What is that process like?
Well, it's first and foremost, it's the household. It's that household that you are helping, and we expect that that household will be able to contribute something towards this home. But if you remember the old GIAP concept, where people from the village come together and also provide assistance to these families. And in a lot of our villages in the countryside, especially, you find people come together and they contribute towards the construction of homes. And this is what we're trying to encourage.
Yeah, I can imagine, and we've been through it as well. You have a big pot of food cook, and everybody come and you work, and they say thank you very much. You get, and
exactly,
and
exactly.
It also builds, because I remember Joseph Remy talking
about community, as you say.
Definitely, and the fact that homes in communities are very different from houses in areas. So when people literally have skin in the game and their brothers and sisters keepers, it does something to the energy of the place and the space. Say, okay, I had a hand in helping with that, and we all see each other rising. But
absolutely.
With regard to seeing each other rising, I wonder what kind of feedback have you seen thus far? Because you said 2018 to 2023 is a relatively short period of time. But at the same time, it seems as though there are good things coming out. So what kind of feedback are you getting? Because you also said that there's a lot of data at the LSA.
Well, certainly the feedback has been tremendous. We have built close to 500 homes in this period. And I mean, for a very new program, I think I don't want to tap myself on the back, or the LSAs, but I think we've done quite well. We've done quite well. The interventions has been far. We have been from, as I said, very early in the program, we have been in Toko, Martlot, we have done Point Fortin, Diego Martin. We have been all over the country. We've been in Central Trinidad constructing homes. Feedback has been tremendous. The improvement you see, the joy on the faces of the beneficiaries, it's great.
And that is one of the reasons I wanted to ask in terms of like that feedback, because it seems as though there's been a bump in resources specifically for the HVIP program. So I was wondering if that is part, because people don't stone empty mango tree, Mr. Hosein. So it seems as though something is working.
Well, I think good work has rewards, right? and probably has more work as well. So our budget has been increased from $58 million in the last financial year to $100 million in this year for this particular program. And we are grateful, and we are happy to be, to get out of such a budget and to do a lot more work. And the LSA is ready and willing to do this. Our projections for this upcoming financial year, which we've started, we intend to do 600 homes, start 600 homes in this financial year. And we are well on the way towards that in terms of the numbers that we have. We intend to do infrastructure works in many settlements. In fact, we have 108 planned such infrastructure projects.
And that is one of the things I wanted to ask. Is it a matter, in terms of how has the scope changed? Is it that you're going to be doing more infrastructure works? Is it that you're going to be doing more homes? So Are you going to be trying to do them faster or around a wider geographical area? How does the scope look for implementation within this financial year?
Well, it's a bit of both, but if I'm to say, I think about 2/3 of our budget will be spent on homes, because there's a need. There's a need for a lot of homes to be redone, etc., based on conditions. And as I said, we intend to do close to start at least 600 homes in this financial year, and 108 projects. But apart from that, we have been mandated to expand the program a little bit to include some community development work as well. And we intend to be doing some new things, such as building up homework centers in some areas that require same. We intend to do some community greenhouses, shade house projects. We are looking at green markets as well. And we intend to expand our community development work by doing some micro-enterprise training and in trying to involve as much people as possible in micro-enterprise, starting new businesses. We are considering such things as grants as well.
And the way that you speak about involving or engaging more stakeholders, it makes me wonder about the engagement on the other side. And I say other side because you spoke about My DNS, the Trade House project, the app project. Are there other line ministries that you may be walking lockstep hand in hand with? So because when you talk about community centers or areas for communities to come together, makes me also wonder whether or not the rural development ministry will be playing a part. So what does that look like, so that it's not as though wheels are going to be reinvented, but resources can be pooled to go forward?
Well, apart from our own ministry, where we have other agencies within the ministry which we interact with, we do interact with all these other ministries that you've spoken about. Of course, rural development, community development, we are very much involved in all of them and working together with these other agencies, because as I said very early in the program, the LSA's work is much more, it's quota regularization, which involves communities. We talked about the Petrotrin program, we talk about our tenancy program. So there's so much that we must involve other agencies and other ministries with us as we go forward, because the impact of our programs is really far and wide.
Now, someone looking at this and wanting to reach out to the LSA, wanting to avail themselves of the opportunity, how do they do that? And is it a matter of saying, okay, well, okay, I hear that the LSA is going to be in this area now, that the HVIP program is going to be operating in this area. How do they get onto you to find out?
First and foremost, our officers are always very much available to the public. The LSAs, we officers are located at main office, head offices at Orange Grove Road in Tacarigua. We do have an office in Port of Spain at the HDC office, so we are quite accessible. There's also an office in the St. Madeleine area. And then we also have a small office in the Couva area. So there's access. Our contact number, main contact number, 2990795. Persons can easily get in touch with us. Ask for our community development unit and our housing and village improvement unit. And we are always accessible. Our officers are on the field. You can meet them, talk to them, and get involved.
Right, and last question, what kind of timelines do we look at? If infrastructure work out of the equation, be it flatland, let's not even look at the slightly undulating or the hilly, but said, okay, we're going to start work on this space, that on flatland. What kind of time frame do we say, okay, well, it started on day X, most of the time it'll be finished around day Y? What kind of timelines are we looking at?
Okay, so I mean, we can separate this in terms of time of the initial application to the construction of that home. There is a time frame for the application and processing of the application, the approval process, of course. We must do this. But if we're talking about in terms of the actual construction of the home, on average, a home, I say we can do that in about 6 weeks. 6 to 8 weeks. Some contractors have mastered the art, and we did have some contractors in some areas who've completed in as much as 3 weeks' time. Fantastic. I know it sounds incredible, but we have had contractors who've mastered the art. And it's all part of the development process also, which we are encouraging with small businesses and small contractors as well, because we also train these people. We have training sessions. We have had sessions where we invited experts from the construction industry. And these things help to improve the delivery of the program.
And this just shows why we need to have more conversations, and hopefully we can do it in the field where we see some of these things happening in real time, Mr. Hosein. So thank you very much, Hazar Hosein, the Chief Executive Officer of the Land Settlement Agency. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, I'm Dike Rostant. This has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.